talked about this before we came in, and then that So Will I song came on, and I was talking to Robert actually about being careful about what we sing, because what comes out of your mouth needs to match where your heart's at. And we can find ourselves in a spot where we're saying things that aren't here, and Jesus cautioned us not to be like that. Your hearts are far from me. What comes out of your lips is pretty much in vain. So when you sing things like where, I don't know what the lyrics are very good. If the wind's going to blow and be sent somewhere, so will I. Means like, where you want me to go, I'll go. Like, you know, I don't know. It goes back to this idea. It's the same song I always saw was a scary song. Some of you thought I was saying I don't like the song. It's I Surrender All. It's a scary song to sing. It's a beautiful song. I love the song, just to make it clear. But when we sing I surrender all and our hearts aren't fully surrendered, that's something I think we need to re-examine in our lives. So just, I don't know. Just a little overwhelmed right now. I'll get there. I'll get coherent. I don't know. Let me go back to the song. Let's just look at the song real quick. I'm going to be quick. All I'm doing is telling you what we're going to talk about the next 2 weeks today. So, so I want to see some of these. They're really just commands that I think are pretty amazing. Keep going. Let's go to So Will I. Stars were made to worship, so will I. Mountains bow down in reverence, so will I. The oceans were your greatness, so will I. Do you see what's happening here? If everything exists to lift you high, to bring honor to your name, so will I. Continue. Wind goes where you send it, so will I. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you sing that, you're saying, like, if we need to change directions, Lord, I'm just like the wind shifts directions. Like let's do that. Whew. If the rocks cry out in silence, that's my favorite part. Like, if they don't call me Hosanna, these rocks are going to talk about it, so it's going to happen. Like, that's awesome. Keep going. Here's the one that gets me the most. That's the gospel. That's pretty good. Go to the next one. Whew. That last one, if you left the grave behind you, so will I. I mean, it's just the fact that, like, the same power that rose Jesus from the dead, talked to this couple, lives in you and I. And if he walked away from death and destruction and defeated Satan, sin, and death, and that's the reality of our lives now in him, like, why are we not leaving all that garbage behind us? Like, why are we not walking in the power and authority of the risen Savior with our own lives? There's so much power and understanding that that's who we are and can be. I think I'm done. That's enough for today. I guess I'll sum it up like this. Like I was talking to Steve about this. Surrendering is not a salad bar. I'd like a little of this and a little of that, and it's all or nothing. It's I'm in or out, gather or scatter, light or dark, sheep or goats. Should I keep on going? Like, I just see it. Like, Jesus takes the gray area and does this, and we should too. All right, this is going to transition nicely. We're going to talk for 3 weeks about, like, kind of where my heart's at. I think we can get to this place where we're all kind of dialed in and like, this is good. I'm ready, Lord. Send me, whatever it might be. But we step out in our lives and we get comfortable. And we get apathetic. And what I want to really hit on for the next 3 weeks, I thought it was going to be 2, it's going to be 3 now, is an alertness and a readiness that we must stay in as believers for many reasons, for the glory of God, for the what I'll tell you in a little bit, for our own well-being and for a lost and dying world, like, we can't afford to get comfortable. We can't afford, I have some words, and I'll tell you why they matter. We can't afford to get lazy. We can't afford to get apathetic, indifferent, distracted, lackadaisical, and reckless in a bad way. I think there's a good reckless. I'm talking about a bad reckless. And here's where we're going to start, my thumb. Okay, we're going to lighten the mood. Maybe I'll stop choking this back here, holding this in. I was operating a 20-ton hydraulic wood splitter. Okay, and here's what I didn't do. Didn't walk up to this thing the 80th time I've used it. I don't know. That sounds about right. And be like, this is 20 tons. This could crush anything in a way. Hence the logs I'm crushing, splitting. I didn't read the warning labels. Here's what happened. Here's what caused this problem right here. And it still is a problem because I can't bend it. And it's frustrating, but that's all right. That's another thing. What happened? Participate with me. Why did this happen? I was possibly distracted by something else. Careless. Comfortable. Too reckless. Comfortable. That's the word I'm seeing, and I want us to just parable this thing right into our spiritual lives. It's comfort that's killing us. It's killing us. Because I get on this thing and I'm just think about the reality of this. 20 tons of hydraulic pressure is, I didn't do that. Be like, well, let's test this thing out. I was comfortable around something of power that could destroy anything in its way. And don't tell me why, but my thumb ended up in it. And it crushed it. I actually heard it. Ooh, not a sound. I'll never forget that sound. Now you hear a tree, when this splits, that. I heard my thumb do that. That's why I said, Dave, I think we need to go to the hospital. This is bad. But I got comfortable, which causes a lot of things. Carelessness and distracted. And I don't know, maybe I was distracted too. Maybe I was thinking about something else the whole time. And let's just transition here. This is my concern for us. That we get this level of life, this rhythm of life where we're just comfortable. Not to saying you got to be uncomfortable in some weird, wacky way, but with our spiritual lives, if we think they're powerful, if we think the God of the universe is powerful and that our lives are important, and we would say this, Jesus is the most important thing in my life, and my spiritual life is the greatest thing. It's the reason for my existence is to know God. We'll say that. And to slip into a level of comfort with that sort of powerful admission is a very scary place to be in. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. Here's what I'm going to read for you some stuff in Thessalonians. The idea of this is Paul is addressing a church who wants to know about the end times. So I'm going to summarize. Wants to know more about the end times. They think they missed the return of Christ, possibly. It's not written, but they're thinking a lot about when he's going to come back and what needs to be happening. And Paul does something amazing. He directs them to the life they need to be living now in preparation for that, and them not getting caught up in the time or day. Okay, that's the heart behind it. All right? And he says a few sentences inside of this that we're going to talk about for a couple weeks, because we were just going to do it 2 weeks, and then the Lord this morning is you're going to tell them to not be comfortable and not give me anything of what that looks like. So then I had to okay, what does that look like? And we had a good time this morning, and it was a little crazy, but we got it taken care of. So let me read this for you. What time is it? I promise I'm going to be 11:07. I think we can do good. Yeah, I know, but about the times and the seasons. Are we there? Are we there, Remy? I didn't even tell you where we're at. 1 Thessalonians 5, 1 through 11. About the times and the seasons, brothers, you don't need anything to be written to you, for you yourselves know very well that day of the Lord will come just like a thief in the night. When they say peace and security, then sudden direction comes on them like labor pains come on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape. It means the Lord's going to come back, and there's going to be a group of people taken off guard. Well, they're going to be surprised. It's going to be the bad kind, right? There's two kinds of surprise. There's a bad surprise, like, oh, we're in trouble. And then there's a surprise like, happy birthday, confetti, I don't know. And then we're excited, okay? So that's them. It's not good. Look at verse 4. But you, brothers, are not in the dark, for this day to overtake you like a thief. Okay, so it's not going to overtake us like a thief. We're going to be surprised and then excited. Verse 5, for you are all sons of light and sons of the day. We do not belong to the night or the darkness. So here's his command. Here's what we're going to, here's like the what's the word I want to use? The direction of where we're going to head. This is what's that name for the sentence in a paragraph that's the most important, that drives the whole thing? Huh? Topic sentence. I don't know. I think it's called a topic sentence. I don't know. It may not always be the first sentence. Doesn't matter. Connie. Proper sentence? Topic sentence. Yes. You knew it. Not that I would be surprised. Okay. Verse 6. So then, we must not sleep. I'm going to define that. We're going to find 3 words here. 3 phrases. We must not sleep like the rest. And I would say within that, what we're going to find is be comfortable, be apathetic, be indifferent, like the rest. But we must stay awake and be serious. So he's talking about that in a spiritual way. He's not talking about physical sleep. And he's also not talking about death. He mentions that in a little bit, because that's a type of sleep that's talked about in the New Testament, the Old Testament. For those who sleep, sleep at night, and those who get drunk are drunk at night. He's saying that in a spiritual way, this darkness. But since we belong to the day, we must be serious. And put the armor of faith and love on our chest, and put on a helmet of the hope of salvation. And here's why. For God did not appoint us to wrath, but to obtain salvation, sozo, healing, delivering, being kept safe and sound through our Lord Jesus Christ. So what he's saying is like, we got to stay awake. We got to be serious. We can't go to sleep, because if we go to sleep, even as believers, we're going to experience wrath. And that wrath isn't like God damning you to hell. No, we're saved, but we can experience some of the death and destruction that the world has to experience that we don't have to anymore, because now we're children of light. I've sozoed you. Stay in the area in which you're reaping and walking in the fullness of my salvation by staying awake and being serious. Through our Lord Jesus Christ, verse 10, who died for us, so that whether we are awake or asleep, that's, I believe he shifted into a literal, dead or alive, we will live together with him. And I love verse 11. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up as you are already doing. I love that, the fact that they're already doing it. He's just reminding them to do something they're already doing. I'm encouraged by that, because we look at the church and Paul's just correcting all the wrong things they're doing. And I don't believe that's the case. In some of his commands, it may not be that they're failing in that. He's just reinforcing a truth they're already walking in. Okay, so I think sometimes we'll just think like he tells Timothy to be strong and courageous. Maybe he's not being timid. Maybe he's just reinforcing the fact that you're supposed to continue. He didn't say strong and courageous. He said, God not give you a spirit of fear, but power and love, sound mind. We don't always just assume he's walking in fear. He may just be reinforcing a truth. I just got off on a tangent. Doesn't need to go there. Let's talk about these 2 things, because look at it in the context. So with what I'm going to talk about for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to sum up for you real quick. In the context of this, we're to encourage one another and build each other up in this truth, to not get comfortable, be asleep, but to be awake to stay awake, to be serious. That is the role in context of how we should be. I'll say another way. In relationship with one another, making sure we're always where we need to be. Now, this isn't once a week. Pray for me, brother, in passing. This is, so here's what encourage one another means. Let's break this down. The first one, encourage one another means to call out by your side. It literally means by your side. That's the idea of exhortation, is to encourage, but there's two words. I don't want to get too nerdy on you, but there's two words, and the half of that word means by your side. That means I encourage you while walking with you. Do you see what I mean by that? Like, we're not like just randomly throwing out encouragement, but as we walk together in life, I am calling things out. I'm encouraging you. And to build each other up is amazing. It means like literally to build a house. And like you would construct this house, that's what we do in relationship with people around us. We want this firm foundation and a well-built house. And when we look at that spiritually in each other's lives, that we continue to do is we want the people around us to be well-built, well-constructed, in a way that honors and pleases the Lord and is good for their own lives. Okay, so those two words, like that's church, right? That's biblical church. Let's get away from anything like you think building and songs and preaching. This is church that we need to be after here. All right? So think about that in how we live in community with one another as I teach about some of these things the next couple weeks, because it's going to take courage for you to call out somebody that's asleep that you love. I'm going to talk about what it looks like to be asleep biblically, and it's not a good thing, and you're going to have some courage and unselfishness. That's the biggest one, because selfishness gets in the way, and you don't want to do that because that's awkward and it doesn't feel good. And you're going to have to maybe speak into somebody's life in a way that doesn't tear them down, builds them up. We're building a house here. And you're not abandoning them. You're not pointing out their flaws and going the other way. You're walking alongside them in it. Okay? I think this is going to be good. I'm excited. I don't know. Okay. Let's define these. We got 3 words in verse 6. Sleep. Okay? It means, I'm going to restate some of those with the thumb accident. And it literally means indifferent and apathetic. Okay? In context of spiritual things that he's saying here, that sleeping is when we're indifferent, apathetic, distracted. I'll throw in the words, some of my own words that help describe it. Lazy, unresponsive, comfortable, lackadaisical. Okay, this is what it means to be asleep or to be spiritually sleeping. And I really find this to be a problem in today's church. Like, we can come, we can get convicted with a couple songs and a sermon. We can go to that Bible study. But man, we get quickly. And I don't want this to be truth. Like, for the believer, this isn't the standard. There's distraction that can happen, and apathy, and indifference. And we can find here's what I want to get to. We can find ourselves asleep very easily. Without even, I think, sometimes knowing it. And when you figure it out, I think it's too late. Okay? So I didn't have time to put this in your notes, but go to the next one, Remy. So the command he uses, we must not sleep. I'm going to talk about how we avoid falling asleep spiritually in the Lord, which the opposite of that would be being alert and being serious. We're going to talk about that next week. Okay? There's no way I can preach all this. We're gonna trust me. We got to tease this thing out a little bit. And if you want to write them real quick, because they're not in your handouts, if you want to do some due diligence, I'll go through this quickly, but you can ignore me and just write them down if you don't want. Religion. You're going to look at some Pharisee stuff. Calls them blind guides. I mean, that's a type of sleep. Matthew 13 Talks about the parable of the sowers. Love of the world in 1 John. I want to explain that because I hate that when you say, well, the world. Like, let's talk about what the love of the world actually means. One big in my life is James 5:5. Overindulged in fattened hearts. For me, we live in a culture that is very scary, and it makes us very comfortable. And I'll give you two quick examples on this one because I think it's important to see it. We think being poor is not being rich. In our country, just when we're not rich, we almost equate that to being poor. And here's a better one with eating. We think that being hungry, we've equated to the same as not being full. So when I'm just not completely full, I say I'm hungry. And you're probably not hungry, you're just not full. You see what the difference is? And you're probably not poor, you're just not extremely rich. And I think we could easily find ourselves asleep in this James, this overindulged, comfortable lifestyle. Selfishness, fear can paralyze our faith and put us into an area of indifference. Our past can do that as well. So we're going to look at those things next week and what it truly looks like to be asleep, because that's a great topic. I was just going to tell you not to be asleep, and then again, the Lord said, we've talked about this, like to me, like we've talked about this. Let's specific. I never want you to walk out of here just hearing a Christian phrase. You know, like, oh, let's encourage, like Joe, don't go to sleep this week. Let's be spiritually awake. If we don't talk about what that looks like biblically, like how do we practically move forward in that? We will have just learned a Christian phrase that we can regurgitate to one another every once in a while. And that's not going to get us very far. Okay? So, that's the best part. Everybody's just got their cameras. Like, that's what I would do. We'll go back to it. Remy can leave it up at the end afterwards if somebody wants to come up. Let's go to the next. Here's the next two words. You will find these words very often in the New Testament. Jesus says them several times. Paul says them a few times. Be awake, or stay awake, sorry. Other translations may say stay alert. And what that means is give strict attention to. Be cautious. So let's go back to the wood splitter, right? If I were to stay awake, that means not sleeping, stay alert. If I give strict attention to, where my hands can get crushed and the power behind it, and I'm cautious, I avoid getting comfortable and having that accident. Okay, so there's an alertness that is necessary in our lives. The next one, he says, they're kind of intertwined, but they're a little different. Be serious. This doesn't mean you have to be like me and never smile or never laugh. Okay, I always point that to Amber when she says, like, you're too serious. Like, the Bible commands it. It says, be serious. Now, you can still laugh and smile. That's not what I'm talking about. You don't have to be as grumpy as me, apparently. Sober-minded. Whew. Clear-minded. Okay, is another word for that. Undistracted is a word I would add to that. It's the next one, Remy, sorry. Sober-minded, clear-minded, undistracted, and the opposite of that being it would be focused. And this is what I was talking about. Again, let's go back to wood splitter. Like, if I'm a little more clear-minded, I shouldn't be thinking, here's what I do, I'll admit. And I don't know what to do with this. When I do manual labor, I love doing manual labor because doing this with my life, it's not very tangible. It's kind of hard to quantify results in leading people and doing all this. And when I get cutting wood, I like accomplishing, but while I'm cutting wood or splitting wood, I'm totally thinking about other things. And I don't know what to do about that. And this was probably a good thing. So many times I think about I just talk to the Lord and he starts talking to me about stuff that with what I'm reading and how to talk to people about it. But my mind gets distracted, and that one maybe is a good one. Maybe if it's like, how good does that sound? I crushed my Lord because I was so in tune with intimacy with Him that I wasn't paying attention. I guess that's better than something else, but I don't think that was the case, honestly. I was in a hurry and being reckless, wasn't paying attention. Okay? But for us, here's the problem. Clear-minded. There are so many things that could come in here in what we're exposed to that can make this foggy. And here's the dangerous part if you want to talk about the wood splitter. You get a foggy mind. You get a mind that's being influenced or being drunk, not with alcohol, but with things of this world. And here's what you start doing with your brain every single day. You start making decisions with a non-clear, in tune with God mind. Are you following me? So then I don't have this clear mind. My mind's foggy. And I start thinking about taking this other job. And I start thinking about, should I move here? And I start thinking about, how should I discipline my children in this situation? Or what? Let's talk about, we got a million decisions to make every single day. You do that without a clear mind in the life of someone who claims to follow Jesus, that's going to end badly. Just like that. I wasn't a thumbs up. I was just showing you again. I do like to give people a thumbs up. I should make a new emoji. This is the new Facebook thumbs up. A little crooked, puffy. So, let's talk about what that looks like. Stay awake and be serious. We're going to look at some very specific things because I do think there are some things, and this is going to encompass quite a bit, you'll be surprised, some things the New Testament uses the same Greek word for that's going to be good for us to look at. So next week, sleepiness. The week after that, okay, where areas, what does the Bible talk about staying alert and being serious? Ephesians 5 is going to talk about in your walk. That everyday life. It actually says, wake up, sleeper. Don't be asleep. So the opposite is to stay alert. What does it look like to be alert and be serious in how I live my life? 1 Peter 5, we're going to look at that, about the tactics of the enemy. Be alert, be serious. Your enemy is like, I'm crazy. Roaring around like a lion looking for those he can devour. So stay alert. In prayer, Colossians 4 says stay alert in prayer. What does that mean? What does that look like? We're going to talk about that. And then the last one, which changes everything. We don't give this one enough credit. Stay alert in preparation for the King to return. This changes everything you do in life. This isn't just getting so focused on Jesus coming back, we don't live our lives. This is a preparation to be ready for that day, so when I'm surprised, it's not in fear, but in excitement. The one I liken this to, just to give you a quick teaser of what I'm talking about, is my wife and I, 3 or 4 years ago, some close friends of us invited us to stay with them in Hawaii. Not a bad gig. It was pretty fun. But what I didn't do is wait till the last day to get ready to go to Hawaii. I leaned up just a touch. We're going to be out, we're going to be swimming, we're going to be active, we're going to be hiking. I just didn't wait and realize, we're leaving for Hawaii tomorrow. Let's pack. I better get on that treadmill. No, there's a preparation in anticipation of what's going to happen. The King returning is all about every single day of our lives preparing for that day, because when He shows up, I want to hear, I don't know about you, and I want to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. That day drives and gets me in a mode of preparation. And Jesus uses this word, stay alert, 5 times in the section we're going to look at. Don't let your guard down. And we're going to look at some parables, some ladies and with the oil and not having their lamps ready. Man, they got that ended badly for them. We're going to look at that and talk about that. So to summarize, I'm done. I believe we need to take a close look at this. And I guess I want this to end. Like these amazing spiritual moments in our life, and then we get lulled into work and life and vacations and whatever it might be. Now, what I'll say is, none of those are bad. But if they take away from, if they distract you from what is best, then we find ourselves in a bad place. So I guess my hopes on the other side of this is that we will recognize how easy it is to get comfortable. And that we would see the benefit. That's what it is. Don't hear legalism here. The benefit of staying alert. I'll just give you one, like this is a teaser. Stay alert in prayer, Colossians 4:2. Like if you're praying just when you need something or when you think you're supposed to, that's not staying alert in prayer. Like staying alert in prayer is when I go by that guy on the side of the road and I'm alert in prayer, I'm not just like assessing, oh, that guy looks homeless. Like I'm talking to the Lord. Or when something goes wrong or breaks down or something just ain't quite matching up, it's not like I assess it as a human. I stay alert in communication with my Father. It's a rhythm of something I never lose touch with. It's not 2.5 weeks later, oh, I haven't talked to God. It's an alertness. It's something that is I never let my guard down. I always see the value of communicating with my Father in every aspect of my life as a lifestyle. Not where I sit down and pray every once in a while, but just constantly, Lord, what are you doing? What are you showing me? What about this person? Like that's what I want you to see, that lifestyle wins. It wins. It beats religion every day. Okay? Let's pray.